other questions do I get a lot? Hey, what's up you guys? Nick here. For those of you who are new to my channel, my name is Nick. I'm a professional photographer. And for those of you checking out another video, thank you guys again so much. Make sure you guys are subscribed. So I've been talking about doing a kind of AMA for a while now because I've been getting a lot of questions on Twitter, on Facebook, and on Instagram about some of my processes, some of the things I like to photograph, and all that fun jazz. So I wanted to share that with you guys. And I think it's fitting because this might be the last time we shoot with this setup because, like I said in last week's video, which I'll link right there, we are moving and I'll have a new setup here soon. So hopefully next week's video will be at least in a new location. And if you hear the buzzing of the computer, I'm currently exporting last week's video. But let's go ahead and get into this, you guys, and I will bring up the first question. It's, what aspect of photography do you find most challenging? Now, a lot of the times, and I've mentioned it in a couple of videos, the most prevalent one is the 5 mistakes I made as a beginner photographer, and I'll link that one right there. And the one aspect I struggled with the most for the longest time was my confidence. Now, I've kind of gotten over that doing these videos and talking to you guys every week, and what I'm finding now that I'm struggling the most with is some of my equipment is pretty outdated, and by that I mean my computer. So if you haven't noticed, last week's video and the week before that, they were both uploaded on Sunday instead of Saturday. The computer kept crashing, kept failing. My Wellcome tablet is ancient and it has a whole plethora of its own issues. So that's where I'm struggling the most with now. From a technical standpoint, I would have to say that I'm still trying to find my voice in the studio with posing. I'm really comfortable once we start shooting for about 15-20 minutes and I get into it, but I want to get to a point where I can pick up the camera and communicate directly to the model with what I want to do and get posing right off the bat instead of needing that time to warm up and really get into the groove of shooting. So that would be the one thing I struggle with the most currently with photography and the one most challenging aspect of it for me so far. So the next question I always get is, what is my favorite subject to photograph? And I've discussed this in my critique video, which I'll link up here, where my favorite subject to photograph is those really, really dark, gothy, fantasy kind of photos. And the reason I like doing those shoots so much is a lot of photography I see on the forums and online and on Instagram is really kind of bubbly and fun and cool and vibrant, and it's all beautiful work. But I like to go for more of a darker style. So I definitely have to say the more fantasy, dark, kind of gothy shoots, those are my favorite kind of shoots to do. I prefer portrait over anything. So if you had to pick a subject, it would be a person. I prefer portrait, 1 or 2 people tops. I can shoot big groups and I've done it before. I just don't really like to do it. So the next one is what photo have I taken that I'm most proud of? Now, I've shared this one a few times because it is my favorite photo of 2019 and it might be the best portrait I've ever taken. And this is Holly with the candlelight and the low light shooting, and we did it without a tripod, and we were able to get the white balance just right, and I was able to get the reflection of the light in her eye perfect. All the settings came out perfect, and the best part about it was the first try. We got it all done on that first try. We posed this one first and I took the shot and it just came out absolutely perfect. So I can't say that it was all me. It was definitely a lot of Holly too. She picked the right pose and she made the perfect facial expression, put her hand in just the right spot to make that photo absolutely beautiful, and it is definitely one of my favorite photos, if not my favorite photo of 2019, if not my entire career so far. The next question I get a lot of people asking me for advice, or what I would tell a new photographer, or what I would tell myself when I was a new photographer. And really what it would be is try to find your niche. I always talk about how I try to remain versatile so I can do several jobs. It didn't start out that way. I actually started out with the niche of doing portrait photography. I started out with a niche because I wanted to learn the basics of my camera, I wanted to learn my lenses, and I wanted to learn lighting. And jumping all over the place, everything requires different lighting, everything requires different settings. So find your niche and just kind of go with that, and as you get better at that, you can add things here and there. You can add group portraits or newborn or wedding or whatever else you want to do, but I would definitely start with your niche. And the biggest piece of advice is go out and take photos. That is the biggest piece of advice you can get. Go out, take photos, learn your camera, learn the lighting, all that jazz. I'm gonna post my manual mode playlist right here. It's a whole playlist on all the different settings that your camera has and how to use them. So one of the questions I did receive that I found most interesting is, what is your editing style? And we've discussed that several times, where I like off-white balances. We discussed that in last week's video. I like my light balances to be off. I like textures when it's correct and not overdone. It depends on what I'm doing. If I'm doing a real big fantasy shoot, I will over-edit and over-edit, and then I'll take some away and I'll over-edit, and it takes a little while to get it fine-tuned. If I'm just doing standard portraits, really what it is I play with it on tungsten or fluorescent. Those are my two favorite white balances, depending, for the most part, what I'm doing. Most of my work is in those two white settings. And I keep it very minimalistic. I don't try to Photoshop too much. I don't like it to look too plasticky. I like a decent amount of contrast. I like the black and whites to contrast each other, and so that the model really stands out. Really want the model to stand out against everything else that's going on, whether it's props, the costume, or the background. I want the model and her eyes or his eyes to stand out the most. So one of the questions I get a lot is, do I like to shoot indoors or outdoors more? And to be 100% honest, I hate shooting outside. I absolutely hate photographing outside. I will do it, and I know how to do it, and a lot of people like having outdoor shoots done, so it's kind of one of those things you have to know, but I hate it. I hate shooting outdoors. I have no control over the lighting. I have no control over the weather. I have no control over any of that, and it just makes it more challenging and more difficult, whereas in the studio, if I need more light, I can add a light. I can turn the lighting up, I can move the lights wherever I want, so I can get my backlighting or my hair lighting, I can get the shadows exactly where I want. I have more control over the image, and it's less work that I have to do in Photoshop. Another problem with shooting outdoors is, what's in the background? Are there cars? Are there people? Are you gonna be able to achieve the look that you want with the lighting that's available? Yeah, you can bring a mobile flash with you. I have one or two that I use when I do shoots like that, but you still don't have full control. You're still at the mercy of the sun, you're still at the mercy of whether there's cloud cover or not, and you're at the mercy of the weather. So I do not like shooting outdoors. I will do it, and there are times where the shoot definitely calls for it, but if I can shoot it in the studio, I definitely will be. Now this question I get mostly on Instagram, and it's what kind of camera I use. It's tricky because I use a lot of cameras. I use the Nikon D5300. That is my go-to portrait lens right now. I've been using that one for about 9 or 10 months now. I've shot a lot of my YouTube videos on it. The Ice Castles of Dylan was all shot with that. It's a really good used camera that you can pick up with low shutter count all over the place for like 250 bucks, especially on eBay. You can get the bodies. Nikon lenses are interchangeable. My backup camera is a Nikon D5100, and it's on its last leg. When I bought it, it had shutter count of maybe 1200, and it's up close to 100,000 shutter count now. I've had that one for 3 or 4 years now, and I really used that one a lot. It's a great backup camera. It was great when I bought it, and I loved using it. Now, if I'm shooting film, I have a number of 35 millimeters. I have a Pentax K1000. I have a Nikon FG and a Nikon N90. I think it's the N90 that I'll use for 35 millimeter. If I'm shooting medium format, I have the Kodak Pocket camera and my Yashica A twin lens reflex camera, and then when I'm shooting tintypes, or if I want to do large format, I have my Birkin James 4x5 right here. Though my daily carry camera is still my Jolly Look, the cardboard one. I absolutely adore that camera. Make sure you guys check out that Jolly Look street photography video. That camera is absolutely wonderful, and I absolutely love it. Now this question's kind of a throwback to Ariana's story. I'll link that one here if I have enough cards left over. Ariana's story, one of the questions that were asked in the modeling story segment that we did was like, what's the weirdest or creepiest experience you had with a photographer? So kind of flip that around. What is the weirdest experience I've had with a client? Now, I didn't actually end up shooting with this client. It was more of the setup. I was contacted by her manager, and he wanted to do like an angel or a fallen angel demon shoot, totally up my alley, totally got me in. I was totally sucked in. I agreed to it. It was a trade for prints kind of deal. Totally into it, totally great for my portfolio, but he kept kissing my ass the whole time. You know, your photos look great, and to an extent it becomes suspicious, it becomes weird. At one point in time, he asked me if they could use my studio for a private shoot excluding me, which really got even weirder. And then where things got really twisted is there was some drama on one of the Facebook pages, and we talked about the Facebook drama and not to be a creeper and all that. Well, that goes for models too. And so I contacted the model who had posted about him, and apparently he had done some bad stuff. Well, I mean, not like legally speaking bad stuff, like he was bad-mouthing people, and that photographers that worked with him and his model were blacklisted from a lot of the Facebook groups and things like that. At that point in time, between his weird behavior and him asking to just use my studio for whatever reasons, I ended up just canceling that shoot and backing out. It really bummed me out. So if you're in Northern Colorado and you want to do a fallen angel shoot, hit me up, because I still haven't done that shoot and I absolutely want to do the shoot. I drew out all the ideas, I got wardrobe ready because I do have a model closet, and I really still want to do that shoot. So if you're in Northern Colorado and you're a model, hit me up, because that shoot sounds like a ton of fun. Other questions do I get a lot? What software do I use to edit my photos? Now, I for the longest time used GIMP because I was poor and I was cheap and it was free and it was a good software. Now I have the Adobe Lightroom Photoshop package. It's like $9 a month. It really helps when you're just getting started and you don't have $300-400 to drop onto a large editing software program that's, you know, the buy once style programs, and you kind of want to jump out of the free area. Photoshop and Lightroom, they have treated me great. I have no complaints about them. There are some other great programs. I just went with that because I was hoping to use Premiere Plus or whatever to do video editing, and actually I'm using Filmora 9 now just because it was easier to learn and it was a one-time cost. It was only like $40, so it wasn't too horrible. So here's an interesting one. What are my prices in case a local finds me? I charge $100 an hour for standard portraits, stuff like that. I can usually give a good quote of how long a session is gonna take. I've been doing it long enough at this point that I have a good idea. Engagement photos generally take an hour and a half, so that's, you know, 150. Senior photos take an hour, so that's only $100. Weddings, I don't like doing weddings. I don't like dealing with the big groups. I do weddings. There's a premium, it's called the wedding tax. And I basically do that based on location, amount of guests, how long the ceremony is gonna be, how long the reception is gonna be, and if the ceremony and reception are in the same place or not. So that one is a case-by-case one. And then for tin types, I actually charge between $25 and $50 per photo, minimum 2 photos. It really depends on how many you're buying. So if you want to do 4 or 5 photos, they're $25 each. If you only want to do 2 photos, they're $50 each, just because of the chemicals and the labor and all of that goes into that. And again, these prices are all subject to change. And so, you know, that might sound cheap, but again, you know, I am still within 3 years. I'm still a novice in some areas. I'm still learning, and as you guys have seen in my videos, that I continue to try new things and try to expand my portfolio and try to get better as a photographer. But in reality, I only have to do a few shoots a month that way in order to pay for the studio and my equipment and my editing software. So the virus is kind of kicking that down because the studio is closed right now and we're socially distancing. But the good news is everyone's gonna wanna do shoots once the virus goes away, and I will probably run a deal when it does go away to try to get everyone going and try to get the economy flowing again. Hopefully, that's my plan. Wish me luck on that, you guys. So this is a fun one. If I could shoot anywhere in the world, where would it be? If I could do street photography anywhere in the world, where would it be? It'd probably be Chicago. I went to Chicago once as a kid and I thought it was really pretty, like all the buildings. I'd never seen buildings that tall before. And by kid, I mean I was like 15 and I'd never seen buildings that tall before, and I thought it was cool, and I always thought that street photography in a big city would be a lot of fun. Maybe I can go to Denver and try it out in Denver. If I could work in, you know, or Detroit, I think Detroit would be really cool to shoot in. There's a lot of abandoned buildings and houses and warehouses in Detroit. I think you get some really cool locations, indoor and outdoor locations. I know I said it, I hated outdoor locations. But I think Detroit would be a ton of fun to shoot in, whether it's street photography or post photography or with a model or anything along those lines. So what style do I want to learn next? I was really hoping to do wet plate collodion this year. I wanted to do a workshop in Denver and bring a GoPro and film the entire journey and do a whole series on that. With everything that's going on, I don't know if that's going to be possible. They usually offer those workshops in the spring, and well, we're kind of in the spring and no one's doing anything. And I can't fault them for that, but wet plate collodion is really the process I would like to learn now, and I'd like to bring you guys on that journey. I might just have to order the chemicals and do some reading, and we'll just play around in the garage at the new house and see if we can't figure out how to make it work ourselves. I think that would be a cool series too, instead of doing a workshop. So we'll definitely have to see. I have the camera for it. I just need the film holders for it. If I'm gonna be dipping them in silver nitrate in a silver bath, I want plates that I can, you know, that are disposable to me, that can be ruined, and it won't be a big deal and it won't hurt my feelings any as we get started on that. So I think wet collodion is definitely the process I want to learn next. So we'll have to see whether or not we end up with a workshop on that or not. But yeah, you guys, that's my Ask Me Anything. If you guys have any questions, throw them in the comment section below. Email me, hit me up on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Everything will be linked down below. Let me know what you guys thought. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell notification so you guys know right when I'm gonna upload. Next week, I think I've done enough research where I've figured out the light app, how I'm gonna do the light metering apps on the cell phone. And then I can make a video on that like I promised about a month ago. I've just been playing around with them and experimenting, and I think I know how I'm gonna shoot that video. So definitely, you guys, if you like that idea, comment it down below, and I will catch you guys on the flip side. So have a wonderful day and talk to you later. Bye.